It's my favorite time of the year, season predictions time on Locked On Illini.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, you can find us on your favorite audio platform or right here on YouTube. Just do a quick search for Locked On Illini and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're getting so close to that elusive 1,500 subscriber mark. My name is Sunny Verma. You can also find me at IlliniCast and at the Sunny V for all your sports needs. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the upcoming college basketball season, which technically started on Monday, I understand, and we have another game on Friday, but hopefully those are going to be two easy W's. And so I'm going to be bringing on a friend to talk about the roster, the teams, our predictions, and I want to hear your predictions in the comments. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, so again, these episodes, those in particular of my everydayers know that I have certain feelings on how I think the season's going to go, how I think the team's going to play. So I always like to bring on a partner for these sort of episodes. And today, I'm bringing on my good friend, Cody Del Mendo. How are you, Cody?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. You came on my show. Now I'm on your show. And, you know, this is called content creation. Like, this is good networking, right?
Exactly. Let the folks know, actually, about your show.
Yeah. So most people know that, like, my full-time job, I work at CHGO Sports. I do the CHGO Cubs podcast. But on the side, one of my side projects, I do an Illinois basketball podcast. It's called From Beyond Champaign. It's available on Spotify and a few other platforms. I've been trying to figure out why it's not on all of them, but we're getting there. It's a side project, but you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you just search my name, you'll find it. I do mainly Illinois basketball content on there, but there's some things related to Cubs on there. And I was doing some sports betting, but I shifted that to a complete different YouTube channel. So if you're an Illini fan, go hit the subscribe button. All you got to do is search my name. There's a whole playlist for just Illini stuff. And yeah, I'm big Illinois basketball fan my entire life. So I've been pushing for us to do more Illini content at CHGO Sports. We started a Big Ten, an all Big Ten podcast. It's technically under All City, but we don't have like an Illinois focused podcast or anything like that. And part of the dream is maybe the bosses will buy it and we'll have an Illinois podcast at CHGO one day. But at this point, it's just kind of a side thing that I do for fun.
Well, yeah, Cody and I met about a year ago, I guess, at this point. I think it was during the Terrence Shannon Jr. Fiasco, and we've always just kept in touch. And as he mentioned, I've jumped on his show a couple times. And I don't know if this is your first time on Locked On, but you've certainly been on IlliniCast a couple times. Cody, let's go ahead and get started. So the season technically started on Monday with a pretty dominant win over your beloved Eastern Illinois Panthers, 112-67. What are your thoughts on that particular game?
Well, you know, as an Eastern Illinois alum, I am disappointed they did not cover 25.5 points. They couldn't find a way to cover. I believe they had covered the last 2 years they had played Illinois, and I always took a lot of pride in that. But I mean, there was a lot of awesome things to take away from that game. Now, I will say, I don't have Big Ten Plus, so I was unable to watch it, but I watched a lot of the highlights that were put up by Illinois, their YouTube channel and stuff like that. And all I can say is that they certainly looked a lot better than they did against Ole Miss in the exhibition game. And I guess that's all I was really looking for, considering they were playing Eastern Illinois and, they're prepping in my eyes, these first three games of the regular season, they're prepping for Alabama. And I don't know, when you came on my show, we talked a lot about the Alabama game when we were going through the schedule. And, like I don't really know what to expect. I don't think a lot of people know what to expect for this team this year. But all I do know is that they certainly looked a lot better than they did against Ole Miss. And now it's just about finding out which roles guys fit in the best. And, I think some guys came off the bench in that game. And, if they keep playing like that, they could be making the case to be put in that starting lineup. And that's a good problem to have. So
right.
I love the depth on this team. And I love the way they play. The way they play is entertaining at the end of the day.
So I was going to ask you on, where you think the team's going to lie, but I think that's kind of what this episode is going to be based on. So let's just, before we spoil anything, let's just go and start off with our bold predictions. You're the guest, so I'll let you go first.
Okay. This is, you can tell me if you think this is bold or not, but I think it's bold because it hasn't happened, and it's an absolute travesty that it hasn't happened. And Brad Underwood winning Big Ten Coach of the Year, I think, is bold because of the roster, and we just don't really know what's going to happen with this team. But if this team finishes in the top 2, top 3 of the Big Ten, all new players, a bunch of young freshmen and stuff like that, as supposed to be your leading scorers as such, Brad Underwood deserves to win Coach of the Year if they finish again near the top of the Big Ten. And the fact that he hasn't won one yet after having more wins than anyone in this conference the last 5 years, it needs to be studied, and it's an absolute travesty, like I said. So I think it's a bold prediction just based off the fact that it just hasn't happened yet. And he has his critics, and I think those critics have been very loud, and maybe that's why he hasn't won it.
It's absolutely ridiculous. You're right. Greg Gard, I think he's won it twice in the last 6 or 7 years.
What?
Yeah, Chris Collins, Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard has won a conference coach of the year. And I've talked about this on Locked On Illini ad nauseum. It makes no sense. It's just, unfortunately, Brad Underwood's so good at his job that he's always projected to win or be in first or second place. And so when he ends up in first or second place, for some reason, he doesn't get noticed. But I love that call. And man, I hope you're right on this one. For my first bold prediction, I'm actually going to start a little bit more on the negative side. But I promise you guys, the viewers and the listeners, it gets a little better. So stay tuned. We all know that Illinois has a very, very tough and complicated out-of-conference schedule. You're talking about Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, and Duke. I think there might be another game mixed in there somewhere. But Mizzou. So, okay, I'm not going to include Mizzou in this bold prediction, but my bold prediction is that Illinois is going to go over when it comes to the Big Four games in the out-of-conference schedule. Again, I think it's going to cause a little panic amongst the fan base, understandably, but I'll keep my reasoning short because I'll have to provide reasoning for another bold prediction right after this. I think the team is very young, and they're still just getting accustomed to each other. Putting them in a tougher environment. We saw what happened against Ole Miss in the exhibition game. Ole Miss is a top 25 team, a very experienced team. But Alabama in 3 weeks is arguably the best team in the country. Arkansas is going to be a very talented team. We have Tennessee, who we played last year and unfortunately lost to. And Duke is going to be in Madison Square Garden. And you're talking about 3 or 4 lottery picks on the other side of the court. So my first bold prediction, I promise my only negative one, is that Illinois is not going to win any of the big marquee out-of-conference games on their schedule.
In some ways, I'm kind of like, what is more likely to happen? Them lose all 4 or them to win all 4? And I would agree with you, like that's more likely to happen. I'm optimistic that maybe they can go 2-2. At most 3 of the 4. Maybe some injury happens, some guy can't play, or who knows? Maybe they just everything goes right,
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Yeah. What else do you got, Cody?
Okay, so I'll follow that one up with the most delusional thing. I'm big on delusion. I love to dream. All right. Yeah. Illinois will reach the Elite 8 again. All right. And that means that a lot of things are going to have to go right. And it goes well with my Brad Underwood Big Ten Coach of the Year award, because as much as I want to see this team gel immediately, we know it's not going to happen. But every single year, Brad Underwood teams find a way to start playing their best basketball at the right time. That's going into February and into March, that entire month of February especially. But, I think with this conference, there's a lot of questions in the Big Ten. But I also think there is more talent this year. They have to play UCLA. That team is projected to be good. How good will Indiana be? Purdue is Purdue. Oregon, that's a really solid program with Dana Altman running the helm. I think the conference is better than it was a year ago, even though the Pac-12 on the basketball standpoint wasn't necessarily the best last year, So I think they'll have some good tests. And the fact that they're going to play Duke in February, that will feel like an NCAA tournament game.
Definitely.
So, obviously they're going to need, you're going to need some luck in the seeding, and, another version of BYU losing to an 11 seed would be nice. But I think there is enough talent on this team that if all the things fall correctly in that bracket in March, that they have the talent to be able to go to an Elite Eight again. A lot of things will have to go right in terms of guys developing and roles and staying healthy and all that. But when you just look at it from the talent, they could certainly get back to an Elite Eight again, man.
I can absolutely see it. And I'm not going to elaborate further because it kind of piggybacks on my next bold pick, which we'll actually do right after this. While you guys watching the ads, hit that like button for me, please. Thank you. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you the boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And we're continue our bold predictions episode. Those of you watching live, definitely leave your own bold predictions in the chat. We'll address them at the end of the show. Okay, so I started with us losing all our out of conference, the marquee games, and you have them, Brad Underwood winning Coach of the Year and going to the Elite Eight. So it's time for me to bring some optimism into the show. And so this is what I mean. So I have them losing the out-of-conference games because I think it's a young team and it might take some time for them to gel. And, I can see them getting a little overwhelmed early. But I see the season going the same way you do, Cody. I really think that once this team figures it out and once they get it, this is a team that can, and my bold prediction, will win the Big Ten Conference. I just think from what I saw on Monday, there's just so many scoring options on this team that even when one or two guys have an off night, this team's still capable of getting to 90, 95. And there's a lot of other college, not even a lot, a majority of other college basketball teams who on their best nights can't get to that number. So I just feel like with the style of play that we have, now this is all pending Kasparis, of course, staying healthy, because he's kind of the engine that makes this all work with his vision and his passing. But if you assume Kasparis stays healthy, I think this is a team that once, at the end of December rolls around and the Big Ten schedule starts, even if we lose a game early, this conference doesn't have any juggernauts in it like we did last year, as you mentioned. So I think once they get going, they're going to, Will Riley, after a half a season's worth of college basketball, you already see the confidence level now. I can't imagine what kind of player he's going to look like in the second half of the season. So my second bold prediction is that Illinois will win the Big Ten Conference.
I like it. We're due for one, man. They should have another one. I still haven't gotten over how they handled or gave it to Michigan a few years back. Yeah, still not over it. I think if Purdue is returning their entire roster from last year, if Edey were to come back, I mean, it'd be really hard for me to think that Illinois could win the Big Ten. But, they have Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith back, but Zach Edey is not. And I just think that with that, it's just like this conference is wide open. I mean, people are arguing that Indiana is better, and they're kind of in the same, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Sunny, but I'm kind of getting the same vibe from them as maybe somewhat of Illinois, not last season, but the year before, where it's just like a bunch of new pieces, transfers that just did not gel together. Maybe they have more guys who have been there, but again, I could be completely wrong on this, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. And because they just dove into the transfer portal.
Oh yeah.
And that's why they're getting a lot of hype, I guess you could say. And now they have to go out there and prove it.
Right.
So that's the vibe I get from them, and then you have all the other teams like Rutgers. They have those newcomers that are highly touted. Wisconsin is Wisconsin. Iowa, okay, they can shoot the three a little bit. I'm just not afraid of them. It's to me, it's Purdue, UCLA, and I guess Indiana and Illinois for me. It's those are the four, that I think will finish in the top, and everyone else will be somewhere around there, somewhere after that, and we'll see how it works out. But yeah, I agree, man. They're, like I said, watching them against Eastern Illinois, even though it was Eastern Illinois, they're fun to watch play basketball.
We were arguably, maybe behind UConn, the most fun team to watch last year, and it looks like we're just going to be one of basically everyone else's second favorite team to watch. Behind their first favorite team. I really think Illinois is going to be must-watch TV pretty much all season long. I kind of agree with your assessment of the top teams. I'm doing an actual Big Ten preview episode with Joe Jackson later on, who he's famous for Feed the Post. Fantastic basketball, and he's also a Purdue fan. What's it, Braggs in the Stands? Is that the name?
Yeah, and he does it with my guy Greg Braggs.
Exactly. So I'll have my official prediction.
Greg Braggs on here.
Well, I'll have my official predictions, but basically the way I see a spoiler alert, it's Illinois, Indiana. I really like what I saw from Michigan a couple days ago as well. So I wonder if they might be ready to be in that top echelon. And I actually have Purdue fifth. And really? I'm scared to say that because Purdue fans happen to find me on any show that I'm on and troll me, relentlessly. So hopefully the word doesn't get out. But I just think that once the team is humming and Kasparis and Will Riley, those two guys, we've never had one and done type of players here at Illinois. And the offensive system that Brad, Tyler Underwood, and Zach Hamer have just kind of instilled, I think we're going to be fun to watch. And even when we don't play our best, and particularly in the Big Ten Conference, there's just not a lot of teams out there that can throw up 80, 85 points. And that's what Illinois is probably going to do on days where they're off and not shooting pretty well. So that's my second prediction for for myself. So I guess we got one left each.
Yeah. My last one, it kind of goes in with kind of what we were talking about after the EIU game, or during the EIU game. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn will win 6th Man of the Year in the Big Ten. Certainly he can find himself in the starting lineup, but I love the role that they have him playing coming off the bench. These first 2 games that we've gotten to see, it feels like he's taken a lot of gradual steps. I love the story. I mean, when you came on my show, we talked a bit about it, like this time, well, not this time, but like in December of last year, I think we all thought he was going to transfer. He stuck around. He became a big like rah guy on the bench, and then played really important minutes in the NCAA tournament for this team. In my opinion, is taking that momentum into this season. So I love his game in terms of being able to just fill it up. I think he can score. He has a great, he shoots the 3, and he'll get on the court this year. One, because he's the most longest tenured Illini now that Ty Rodgers decided to redshirt, and he defends. And this team needs defense in some aspect. And I think Brad Underwood knows that. And so I think he could be a guy that I won't be surprised if he's in the game at the end of games. He doesn't start, but he's in the game at the end of games at times against certain opponents. So yeah, I don't know if that's bold, but like, I just see like the role with him on the bench is a really good spot for him in year 2.
No, I really like it. And he's actually a part of my 3rd bold prediction. And that is, now this is more of the definition of what bold is. And I'll start off. The prediction is 2 of the guys who didn't even start opening night are going to be leading this basketball team in a particular stat by the end of the season. And DGL is one of them. I did this on Illini Cast on my episode with Austin, the season preview. I said a long shot to lead the team in scoring would be DGL. And after seeing Monday and just kind of thinking about it more often, I think it could happen in the sense where you see Will Riley, he went off for 31 points. He's one of those players that when he goes off, you can tell he just keep feeding him the ball and the guy's going to score in buckets. I just don't know if he's going to be able to carry that through, game in and game out. He's a pretty skinny guy still. I can see fatigue settling in with him at some point.
Hitting the wall.
Right. This team, I'm talking about, how they can score 90 or 100 points on seemingly an off day, but there's not really one guy who I can foresee being the leading scorer on the team. One guy who you can always count on scoring 20 points a game like we had last year in Terrence Shannon Jr. and eventually Marcus Damask. Even our best player, Kasparis, he looks more like a guy who's looking to distribute more than he's to, score. I think he only had 4 shots on Monday. So for me, when DGL's in the game, he's looking to score. He's got that energy. He's got a confidence level to him. Now, granted, this would be an easier prediction to have, right, if eventually he does get moved into the starting lineup, of course, and his minutes increase. But I see a scenario out there where he still ends up averaging like 14, maybe 15 points a game, even if it's coming off the bench in like a microwave type of role, like just a scoring off the bench. And honestly, that might lead the team in scoring this year when you talk about the other guys. So DGL was in scoring. Obviously, he didn't start. And the other one, my everydayers who watched the episode yesterday already know this one. Morez Johnson in rebounding. This guy, it was born and put on this earth to rebound that basketball. He's done it throughout high school. He did it at the FIBA under 18s. And even on Monday in his first ever college basketball game, in 15 minutes, he grabbed 8 boards and 6 blocks. Ivicic had a double-double himself, but Ivicic's numbers aren't really for his size, at least from what he played in Europe, he wasn't much of a rebounder. I think these 2 guys balance each other out really, really well. And even if Morez ends up at 15 to 25 minutes a game, I think he can come close to that 8 that he reached on Monday, 8 to 10 per game this season. That could lead the team. And again, 2 guys who didn't even start. And I'm not even saying I'm confident they're going to be starting at the end of the season, but they're just very good at what they do.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how the front court develops throughout the year, because you have Avicic, you have Morez Johnson, like Ben is kind of like that 4 that can shoot the 3 a little bit, but he's technically a 4, like how is he, like, is his rebounding going to be significant? I don't think so, but like, yeah, like they have a lot of, like we said, they have a lot of depth, and Morez Johnson has impressed me quietly. He's been a quiet, like even in the game against Ole Miss, the exhibition, he impressed me. So if he keeps doing those little things, rebounding, blocking shots, being a rim protector, something I felt like Illinois didn't have last year, he's going to earn more minutes down the stretch in terms of like late in the season. Right now they're still trying to figure out roles and stuff. And that's what happens with a lot of freshmen, I feel like, is like their playing time is limited early, but they get more of an opportunity as the season goes along, as long as they, work hard and continue to find ways to impact the game in the short stints that they get. But I do think Morez Johnson will be playing, like you said, 20, 25 minutes a night at least. So maybe not so much him, but yeah.
And the nice thing about Morez is he knows his role, right? He's not on the court trying to get up buckets. He's doing what he does best, and it balances this team out because we do have scores. We have plenty of scores. We need more energy guys, rim runners, catch a lob from Kasparis whenever he, draws some gravity. Morez, this team is perfect for him in the sense where it needs what he's best at, and it doesn't need what he still needs to work on when it comes to the college basketball game. So those are the 3 bold predictions from Cody and I. Let us know if you agree with either of them in the chat. And right after this, we're going to basically go through those teams' stat leaders and see whether we agree or disagree on who's going to lead the team in certain categories this season. All right. Actually, hold on. I'm going to find that again.
Been there.
ZBiotics Pre Alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Here's how to use it. Step 1, drink pre-alcohol. For best results, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself, hydrate, and get a good night's sleep. Step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off.
NBA season is right around the corner, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of do miss having an NBA team right down the street. Just for those of you that don't know, my very first NBA game I got to watch at the Chicago Stadium, and Michael Jordan hit a game-winning basket against the Indiana Pacers. It's a memory that kind of ingrained the Chicago Bulls into my heart, and one of the reasons I'm still to this day a diehard Chicago Bulls fan. If you're looking for a way to get to a game, whether you're a Bulls fan, whether you're a Indiana Pacers fan, or maybe a Dallas Mavericks fan or San Antonio Spurs fan, just check out Game Time.
Game Time gives you all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature, basically showing you what the price is totally upfront with no surprise fees. Of course, you get seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Also, the lowest price guarantee on Game Time, or Game Time will credit you with 110% of the difference. Just take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
All right. Thank you all for sticking around. Again, while you're here, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you guys anything, but man, it really helps this channel grow. 63.9% of the people I checked this very morning watch this show and aren't subscribed. So just again, hit that button. Let's help me out on my journey to 1,500. We're one of the 20% fastest channels that Locked On Illini or Locked On Network has ever had. So I appreciate all of your guys' support. So Cody, I figured for this last segment, we don't have much time, but we'd kind of just run through the leading scorers, or leading points, rebounds, assists. I guess technically I just gave 2 of mine away, so this might be shorter than I first anticipated. But let's just start with the scoring. Obviously, I said DGL. I think that's more of a bold prediction, not necessarily one I'd put money on. But let's hear your thoughts on who you think leads the team in scoring.
Oh, man. That's a good question. Like, I have high hopes for Kylan Boswell, but he hasn't necessarily got it going yet. And he's in a great role with Kasparis being like that distributor, but he's like also kind of a distributor as well. But he is technically like played the most games, I believe. Like, I think Marcus might have more, but 2 years in, sure. He's a junior, so I would lean that Kylan Boswell by season end will lead this team in scoring. He can shoot the 3 with the best of them with this team, and once he gets in that rhythm and he gets fitting, starts to feel comfortable playing with all these guys, I think he could really take off. And I think this team's success really does revolve around him. And I know we're not talking about him a lot right now, but I think if this team goes to the Elite 8, like I hope, he's going to be a big part of it. So I would love for the Champagne kid to lead the team in scoring.
Yes, story-wise, that would be amazing. Kylan, I agree with you. He hasn't shown as much on the offensive end, but you can definitely see how big of a role he's going to have on this team. This team is not going to be known for their defense by any stretch, but he was one of the few that looks like he enjoys playing it both against Ole Miss and Eastern Illinois on Monday night. It's funny, both of us, anyone who's just aggregating the show and who are the leading scorers for Illinois, I picked DGL and you picked Kylan, and nobody says Will Riley or Kasparis. So we're really about to get drowned in social media. Okay, so what about rebounding? I like Morez Johnson. I just think I'm more confident in the Morez Johnson pick than I am the DGL one. I just think that guy was put on this earth to grab rebounds. What about you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll go with Avicic just because he's starting and he's 7-1. This guy has been impressive these first 2 games on offense. And admittedly, I didn't know a ton about him. Maybe you probably knew so much more than I did going into even the exhibition game, but he just looks very smooth out there. And I think with his size and stuff and with how many shots Illinois is going to be jacking up and how much they're going to run, they'll have nights where they don't make all those shots, and that means that there's a lot of rebounds, and he's going to be on the floor the most. So I just assume that if based off this thinking, I feel like he'll lead the team in reboundings in rebounds per game at least. Now, Morez, he might be that guy who by the end of the year could lead the team in have a game where they break the season record for rebounds for like a player like who a team leader or whatever for one particular game. But I don't know if he could average more rebounds per game than anyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Time Spot is definitely the safer pick. And it's funny that I picked against him because all summer long I've been talking about how much I do genuinely really like him as a player. His defense needs some work, and I accept the criticism on that side, but he's just very fluid offensively. And what I really liked from him on Monday is that he just wasn't scared to shoot. He's 7'1", 260. We've had players like that before, Kofi just a few years back, but we've never had one that size who can, by the way, also shoot the 3-pointer. That just really opens up the offense for Illinois, and a guy like Kasparis, so much more, and just makes this team even more dangerous. Okay, so we have one stat left, assists per game. I'll let you go first on this one.
I think this is where KJ is going to shine. I mean, everyone thinks he's going to be a one and done, and it's not that I want to cheer against it, because I want him to stay, but I also want him to just be the dog that we all think that he can be. And I just think that, I think about that pass that he had to DGL for that layup against EIU the other night. And I just feel like moments like that give me confidence that he is going to be the real point guard on this team, that he can fill it up too. And I feel like I'm explaining Kylan Boswell right now, but I think, like I said, with Kylan being more experienced, he'll be shooting the ball more, I think. With KJ, it's kind of like, I just think he is just a natural facilitator. Watching him on the court, the way he brings the ball up the court, how they are running the offense through him, basically, I think he's a guy who's going to be passing it a lot more.
We finally agree on one. I said this yesterday when I had a segment on players that were kind of overlooked on Monday. Kasparis Jackishonis is regarded as the guy who's going to be the best player on our team this year, and he played fantastic on Monday. He just was overshadowed by DGL and Will Riley. I just think the offense is going to run better through KJ. Kylan can have a role as an off-the-ball scorer, wait in the wing. When Kasparis draws some gravity over, he's going to be giving a lot of other guys free, wide-open three-point shots. And Kasparis is my guy for leading the team in assists as well. And so let me see. Okay, yeah. So right after this, we'll hit the comments. Let us know points, rebounds, assists. Who are your predictions? And Cody and I will take a look at the comments before we wrap up. All right. Philip says assist KJ, rebounds Avicic, aka the better twin. Philip has been on that for a couple games now, and points DGL. Okay, Philip. All right.
Okay. I
like that. Maybe I'm not as bold as I thought it was going to be.
We're just riding a high right now with DGL. For sure.
Exactly. I think he went off in his first game against Eastern Illinois last year too, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He said in a post game that his dad went there. That's why he plays well against them.
Philip says somehow Greg Gard wins Coach of the Year because of the regular low expectations for Wisconsin. Yeah, it's just ridiculous because I've got a couple Wisconsin Badgers friends, and they're ready to fire the guy, especially after last year. And this guy's already won Coach of the Year. I think it's multiple times. Philip says Illinois wins Big Ten tournament back-to-back years. I love it. I can see it. This is a team that when they get hot, and especially in that type of environment, a Big Ten tournament where they're just playing day after day after day, and they've got young legs, right? They're all pretty much 18, 17, 19 years old.
Well, and if they finish in the top echelon of the conference, then they'll get that double bye, perhaps. That only helps them get through that weekend, that's how they won it last year, in my opinion. So
Nico says Illini go 18-2 in conference play, top 2 seed in March.
Wow.
I'm optimistic. I'm not sure I'm that optimistic.
That's bold. That's bold, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you're 18-2 and Philip says so right here, you're a number 1 seed in the Big Ten, or in the country.
Do you think the conference as a whole is better than last year, even though you're adding all the teams from the Pac-12?
I think the average team is better. But, as we mentioned before, there's no Purdue. Even I don't think there's a team as good as Illinois, last year's Illinois team in this year's pool. So I think whoever wins the conference will end up winning maybe 14 games. have like a 14-6 record or something along those lines. We're not going to have a team that loses one or two. Kent, friend of the show, says Northwestern is a juggernaut. Sure, Kent.
The coaches don't necessarily think so.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Casuals also says, I'm telling everyone you have Purdue 5th. That's wild. Please don't screenshot our text. Yes, Kent is actually in the same boat as I am.
Yeah.
Philip says Illinois, Oregon, Northwestern, Indiana, top 4 in that order. I can see it. I really think people are overlooking Michigan, and UCLA is another team that looks pretty good. I'd actually probably have them over Oregon when it comes to the West Coast teams.
Oregon is just one of those teams where I feel like they're always, they're kind of like Maryland to me. Like they're always good. They're always competitive, and like Illinois never goes to College Park and wins. Like I could see Oregon being another one of those, like where you feel like you're better than them, but it's hard to go play on that terrible looking court that they have because they have a good coach and they play hard and all these things, and it's a road environment all the way across the country. Like that's what I feel like Oregon is going to be for Illinois for years to come.
Yeah, when you have a good coach and all that, those NIL funds, you're always going to be competing. Yeah. Bill brings up a pretty decent point. Morez is the longest tenured Illini now because he's been committed for, I think, 3 years. I think so.
Fair enough.
Technically, you might be right.
Yeah, fair enough.
AGL equals Trent Frazier. I would love that. I don't know if he's quite ready for that role this year, but especially if he sticks around for his junior year. And it stinks that I have to say that.
If he's here, if he sticks around for 5 years, and then I can see it a little bit based off, like, he defends. I think he can be one of the better defenders on this team, and then he can shoot. So that's Trent Frazier. Is he good enough to go to the NBA? I don't think so. He could probably play some pro ball, like overseas. Like that's what Trent Frazier's doing. Like I don't know. Like I see it a little bit. Like I love the energy that he brings too. So
Justin has probably what's going to be the right answer when it comes to, I'm assuming this is to scoring, and he says Will Riley, and Philip ends us up saying Illinois has 6 players that average double-digit points. That would be a lot. I don't know if we can reach 6, but again, this team is that balanced, and we don't really have that one alpha guy to, get 20 points a game. So, we may not reach 6, but I would not be surprised if we're at like 4. Or maybe even 5 by the end of the year. But that's going to just about wrap it up for today's episode. Cody, once again, thank you for coming on, and let the folks know where they can find your wonderful stuff.
Yeah, so like I said, From Beyond Champagne, it's on my YouTube channel. Just search my name or search that. I'm pretty sure you'll find it that way too. And then I'm on Twitter at Cody_CHGO. If you're a Cubs fan that watches this, you might like me, you might hate me, but maybe you'll think that my Illinois takes are better than my Cubs takes. Same handle on Instagram and TikTok too. I go live on TikTok a lot to talk about most sports things that I'm into. So go shoot a follow at any of those if you guys feel like it. Would appreciate any support that subscribes to the YouTube channel though too.
Absolutely, Cody. Appreciate having you on. We'll have you on later on in the season as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Cody.
Yep.
And that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Locked On Illini. Again, on your way out, if you haven't already, please just hit that like and subscribe button. Help continue this channel to grow. We're so close to 1,500. I think a lot of you might be tuning in for the first time. A lot of you might be basketball fans. Well, I'm here every single day, and that includes weekends, providing you daily content and coverage of the Illini. And I don't ask for anything in return except for your continued support. We'll be back tomorrow night. There's a Big Ten squad episode. I will not be participating in that one, but regardless, we'll be talking a little football bye week. What do we need to kind of improve on? We've got a couple of recruits on the football side, but also don't forget, we have a game Friday night, and I'll be here live immediately after the game, like I am every football and basketball game. But until then, ILL, love you guys.